Firstly, I want to start off by saying that this video is a mixture of points I made and some points that other people made, but a big chunk of this was from a guy on Reddit whose name I forgot, so if you're watching this, shout out to you. This whole video is going to be about some of the major plot holes / inconsistencies this show ignores or chooses to fill, the lack of danger and consequences, and the many points of poor writing. Also, let me just say that even though I really like this show, it could be better. I like this show, but just because I like it doesn't mean that it doesn't have some very real flaws. Now let's start off with the characterizations of some of the characters, starting with the main guy, John B. Most of the flaws here are minor and can be looked past, but some just cannot be ignored. Firstly, there's a problem with the show's boring and completely indestructible protagonist, John B. This dude's interesting enough in the first season, but not so much in the second. The first issue is that this dude is a liar and is selfish as fuck. The Pogues got shot at, beaten down, hunted, abused for the sake of this man, and he rarely, if ever, did anything in return. Pope risked and ultimately lost what may have been his only shot at leading a decent life to help John. JJ, while hot-headed and not being the best planner, constantly took the heat and the threat of death to help John find treasure and avenge Big John. Even Kiara, she risked a stable family dynamic by associating with John, and similar to others, almost died for whatever he wanted. The worst part about this is that no one called him out on his bullshit past the first 3 episodes. From then on, no matter the personal or physical risk, whatever John B needed from them, he got. The worst instance of this is when John took the gun during his little temper tantrum and Pope wanted to leave because he had a scholarship interview. Kiara and JJ got on this man's ass simply because he wanted a chance to have what was guaranteed to be a better life instead of risking his neck because John can't ever leave his tunnel vision mode. When JJ was facing issues with his father at home or Pope being arrested for sinking the Malibu, where was John B? Messing around with Sarah, who immediately gave all his time to. Even knowing that her inclusion might completely split up his friend group and alienate Kiara, John B still went forward because it was what he wanted. Even Sarah was hesitant about joining because she knew that her presence could have been problematic. But as I said before, John B always gets what he wants, no matter what. This dude was willing to get the love of his life killed in a tropical storm because his final purpose was just so damn right. John B is the protagonist despite the fact that he constantly lies to his closest allies, he constantly puts people's lives in danger for his goal, and can't pay back a favor for shit. Also, the narration was completely unnecessary and takes away from the show. We know what's happening, John. We're looking right at it. No need to spell it out for us. Now let's move on to Ward. Ward had no real character flaws past the idea of him living past the first season. His return in the second season was honestly a waste of time and made the final episode feel more like a soap opera than an adventure drama. Now let's go on to Kiara. Kiara was so good in the first season. She was the fine line between reason and all-out craziness. While Pope and JJ were on opposite sides of the spectrum, Kiara was actually a legitimate coagulant of the group as a whole. She could see the big picture but was never too naive to reject the notion of greater treasures. She was clever and often matched Pope in terms of contributions to the Pogues as a whole. Plus the love interest plot lines with her were there, but not crippling and overbearing to the story like John B and Sarah's. But they really did her dirty in season 2. They straight up destroyed Kiara's likability and confidence of action in the second season. Every other choice she made was either founded on emotion or done to drive the plot forward. Her whole story arc of wanting to be a true Pogue despite her family felt so weak because season 1 Kiara had never been so willing to make such detrimental mistakes regarding her own personal well-being without there being a payoff. Season 1 Kiara wanted to be a Pogue, but she also knew where to draw the line when it came to dealing with her parents. She would tell them off and even occasionally let them talk, but season 2 Kiara only yelled at her parents and never gave them room to breathe. Besides bad decisions and some clunky dialogue, what really sank her was the romantic thread with Pope. My goodness, this whole thing was a mess. The writers just threw Kiara and Pope together at supersonic speed and then broke them apart just as fast. The whole thing was easily Pope's worst part of season 2 and another nail in the coffin in Kiara's characterization. Now on to Sarah Cameron. Sarah was fine in season 1 and carried the first couple episodes of season 2. They actually made her character bolder and a foil to John. However, the breakup of season 2 was rushed and very sloppy. Your father murdered your boyfriend's dad, tried to kill your boyfriend, covered for the murder of the sheriff, and stole all the treasure. It is very understandable why John B wouldn't be sad in the least for Ward's death, and to that point, Sarah had been shown as a clever character and would understand these things. The season 1 finale just kind of threw it out the window, but thankfully they got her back to form in season 2. Now let's get on to the inconsistencies, starting with the cop. Now inconsistencies, there's a lot, but I'm gonna boil it down to a couple examples that cannot leave my mind. First, why are the SBI and the police so bad at their job? Chasing John on an island where the entire population is looking for him should not have been such a difficult task. During the chase, there was a scene that insinuated that the police police had dogs looking for John? If so, how did they not find them? Topper came out wearing John's sweaty ass clothing and nobody thought to give that to a couple PD dogs? Nobody? Really? Also, the amount of times that John just straight up turned around and ran was unbelievable. Here you have a kid who is widely believed to have killed your sheriff, and you have cops like Thomas who vow to kill John for that crime. The dude strolls into your station and you have 2 guns trained on him. When he ran, why didn't you shoot? When the dude was obviously putting his right hand down to start the ignition on your very own police cruiser, why didn't you shoot? So many chances to shoot or at least tase the guy and none of them were taken. Then there's John getting away to meet his friends in the Phantom. This is total BS. There is no way that a modern police vehicle, especially when it's been reported as stolen by the suspect, is not being tracked with police software and watched like a hawk. John rolling up to the Phantom in the PD cruiser should have immediately resulted in his arrest. There is no way that any competent police department or state office like the FBI would not be tracking it. Then there's Ward's confession. Who the hell cares if he admits that he shot Peterkin? It wasn't his fingerprints on the bullet casings, and it wasn't him who Gavin claimed to be the murderer. It was Rafe in both cases. Just because Ward confessed to the killing doesn't mean that the police throws out all of its hard evidence against Rafe. As all good police do, they should take it at face value and not consider any evidence that's still pertinent to the case. This right here, Race Fium, annoyed me more than anything else. Now we're going to talk about the consequences or lack thereof. Running from the cops, falling from significant heights, broken bones, multiple times being shot at. Nothing can stop John B. This dude will take a beating and then walk away an hour later like nothing happened. Now we're going to talk about the lack of legitimate stakes in danger. This is my biggest issue with the show. The show keeps trying to show us what's at stake in all these dangerous situations and only ever delivers on the most trivial of them. Pope losing his scholarship, Kiara falling out with her family, stuff like that. Whenever there should be major payments for mistakes committed, those payments never come through. This show is entertaining but has no real danger in it. When I see an alligator, a predator so perfect that it is not majorly evolved in 53 million years, chew on John B's leg, I expect there to be no leg when he escapes. What happens instead? We learn that John B has secretly been Wolverine the whole time. Apparently his muscles are made of adamantium and the gator was only able to puncture the flesh. Throw in the healing factor that allows him to sprint away immediately after the fact, and you cannot convince me that this kid wasn't a part of the Weapon X program. This kind of indestructibility just makes John such a boring character. He never loses anything remotely important to him in his search for the treasure, and for some reason nobody in OBX can aim for shit. He gets beaten and walks away a couple hours later. He gets shot at constantly but never gets so much as graze. He wrestles a goddamn alligator and walks away like he's been mildly inconvenienced. There's just no chance of major entry or setback for this dude, thus he's a boring protagonist. Now the lack of meaningful loss. Then there's the writer's inability to keep a dead person dead. Why did Ward and Big John have to still be alive? What did that add? Ward resurrection as a character completely derailed the freaking amazing character possession that Rafe had been going through and only served to put John B on the moral high ground at the end of season 2. Big John's return just cemented the fact that this show can't be taken as a serious drama. It wants to be taken as such given the very good base plot and fantastic acting, but when nobody stays dead, I cannot take Outer Banks as a drama or even an adventure. Even hospitable encounters such as being beaten up to a pulp with a golf club are wiped away the next episode. I cannot be as anxious or stressed as the show wants me to be when I know that anyone in the main cast is guaranteed to be fine. If they had legitimately killed Sarah in season 2, then that would have been such a great twist and shown that John's selfish need to best Ward can really destroy the lives of other people. But no, Sarah lived through it and John learned no lesson at all. With this being the case, it just makes the show too predictable. If nobody but the side characters are gonna get injured or die, then I already know that every chase, every shootout, every fight or explosion will result in a massive waste of time, since nobody will ever face the consequences of their actions. For example, what did Pope's round 3 against Rafe accomplish? Nothing. What did John B's encounter with the alligator accomplish? Nothing. Events like these feels like filler since nobody's gonna get hurt. Now I want to end this off by saying I like Outer Banks a lot, and as I said at the start, just because I like it doesn't mean I can't, critique it or try to improve it. I just think that in season 3, the writers need to realize what they have on their hands. They have 10 episodes to bring Kiara back to actually a decent character, give John B a personality besides my dad, and make ramifications a thing. All they need to do for the next season is commit. Commit to dead characters being dead. Commit to injuries meaning something and slowing down people. Commit to professionals with firearm training actually hitting their target. And commit to making fantastic and suspense and action with real repercussions at the end of it all. Guys, that's the video for now. As I said at the start, a huge chunk of this is from a guy on Reddit. So, guy on Reddit, if you're seeing this, please leave a comment. Shout out to you. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.